else. What if it was more like there is some primordial cloud, or again, electric universe style. There's a huge plasma pinch, one of those plasma globules that ends up sort of self-forming in the twisting magnetic and electrical fields becomes our sun. So there's our sun, just kind of alone by itself, shot out from wherever it was created, or whatever. And maybe what happens is it's in the it's still connected to everything else via lines of energy, which are visible on different spectrums or invisible, but they're there. Maybe what happens is every so often, it's more of a living being style thing, where every so often, what if it was like this? The sun accumulates a certain amount of energy, and to stabilize itself, it gives forth a massive eruption of its internal structure, and it spits out a gas giant, or it spits out rather, the proto cloud of the material that would become a gas giant, and then that stabilizes over time, and it's still receiving energy from this galactic circuit. And of course, you say, where is this energy coming from? Well, it's flowing. What's happening is things are distributing. Somewhere upstream, something big is becoming slightly smaller, but more complicated, right? And it's bleeding off energy, because that's the way things go. Everything bleeds off energy. Smaller things receive energy, bigger things tend to bleed them off. And then, it can reverse, things can happen. Reality is complex. So we have the sun, and we have the first gas giant, maybe Jupiter. And then over time, again, maybe the sun spits out another gas giant, and this was my thought. Think about each gas giant as being spat forth by the sun at the end of a particular cycle. Cycle 0, you have the sun. Cycle 1, the Earth or the sun spits out Jupiter. Over time it stabilizes, becomes more like the Jupiter we know. Cycle 2 spits out another one, spits out Saturn, spits out third, spits out Neptune, fourth spits out Uranus. But maybe like this too. Cycle 1 you get Jupiter, cycle 2 you get Saturn from the sun, but you also get a rocky planet from Jupiter, right? Maybe Earth, maybe Mars, Venus, something like that. So what happens is larger, less complex bodies give birth to smaller, more complex bodies. That has a certain cosmic balance that I like, It fits. It definitely fits. So over time, you get, and possibly even after maybe at the end of a megacycle or something, the sun might give birth to a smaller sun too. It might go from spitting out, or again, see, that might be it too. It might have spat out the smallest gas giant, whichever one that would be, then a bigger one, then Jupiter. What if the next cycle, that would be an amazing thing for 2012. I mean, nobody's predicted that, but I had a couple of interesting, brainwaves that kind of involve that. What if it was like, I can't remember their order, but what if it was like Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, Jupiter. Jupiter was the last one spat out of the sun. What if the next, and as people have said, Jupiter is almost big enough to be a sun on its own. It's almost got enough mass, according to their calculations, whatever. Jupiter also is tremendously electrically powerful. It has an immense plasmasphere. Again, according to regular science, that's true. And all this other stuff. So what if the next one, there's a new body spat out of our sun, and it is actually big enough to be a sun of its own. It's actually bigger enough than Jupiter to burn, so to speak, independently. And voila, we have a two-sun system. Isn't that cool? And also, of course, again, I guess that would be a different. I don't know. I don't think I've mentioned this in either. It's one of those things I've thought about so much, it's hard to remember if I've said it on tape or not. But that's one of my scenarios, actually. I mean, I don't know if that would happen in 2012, but I was thinking about that. I was like, Because I'm a bit of I tend to have a sympathy for the catastrophists, the people who think that, again, that's another conventional science thing. Everything has been just the same in our solar system as it has been for millions and billions of years. But if you actually consult the records of people that have lived on the Earth, it was considerably different even a few thousand years ago. And as usual, science just goes, well, these records from old people, they don't match what we see in the sky, and well, they must have been just a bunch of loons, or whatever. They just dismiss it, very dismissive. Hate that. But what if this, the great prophet Brad Lee speaks? I predict, or I don't know. It's a cool theory anyway. I'm not, I don't know what'll happen, but it makes a certain symmetrical sense in my mind. What if, sometime I'd say between now and say 2050, that happens? The sun spits forth a smaller sun. The gas giants spit out rocky planets. The rocky planets actually wouldn't spit out anything. They would just experience a lot of turbulence, essentially. And what happens, of course, with all that going on is rearrangement. But as people don't realize, again, the primary force in the solar system, there's a lot of gravity, but it's actually, again, electric universe-wise, but it's been proven to be true. It's electrical. It's plasma. It's magnetism. So what that means is Earth isn't going to smash into anything. The planets aren't going to just, kablam, smack into each other. But what'll happen is there'll be a huge rejuggling. There'll be these new rocky planet-sized masses. There'll be this new sun. And what happens is it takes a while for things to fall into a new resonance. Maybe that's what the Mayans' New Age meant. Maybe they'd been around long enough to go, oh shit, every so often, every couple thousand years, the heavens go into tumult. Sounds pretty classic, eh? And what you get, what the Electric Universe guys say is the other half of their thing, other than their modern astronomical thing, the catastrophic side of it, is if you look up into the sky and there's this huge electrical interaction. Aurora Borealis right now is pretty amazing looking. Imagine 1,000,000 times more powerful aurora, okay? Thunderbolts of the gods. Imagine these huge, Venus is blazing and it's the size of a softball in the sky just going and shooting, huge bolts off onto Mars, right? The gods are warring in the sky. That makes sense to me if you think of it from a human point of view and not just really, science, blah, 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 things are this way right now. Well, things are different, or they could be different. They can be different. So that would be my prediction. If that happens, seriously, if that happens, new sun, new rocky planets, electrical disturbance, then yeah, from 2012 or 2013 to 2050, which is technically the beginning of the New Age, that is the period of chaos. If that happened, it would be an amazing spectacle, and it would seriously fuck up everything here on Earth, because people would not be able to just go, la da 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 da. They'd be, the sky would be a show every single day. People would actually have to work together to survive. I think humanity would be fine, and it would be able to basically shock us and get us off our complacent asses. And it would also possibly cause another huge series of events. I should really go on about that. That's a pretty fun kind of thing. It's like a story. I really should do a novel version of it. It would probably make me $1 million if I wrote it. Anyway, wow, 30 minutes. That takes no time at all. I wish I was getting paid for this. If I got paid by the hour, I could do a couple hours of this every day. Easy. Yeah, 30 seconds. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of new. My occult research has continued to advance. Figured out a whole bunch of new stuff actually, and figured out some. Again, it's always filling in the gaps in the old stuff. I'm probably going to do that. I'm probably going to do a special on alien abductions, which really aren't what you think. They are pretty wacky, pretty amazing, pretty weird. Anyway, all right. Well, 30 minutes. Now I'm going to upload 3 10-minute chunks. Oh joy. Have a good one. Bradley out.